going on, Internet? It's me, Robert Teegarden, back again with the Teegarden quick tip tutorial. Just the tip, just enough to see if it feels good. Before we get started, I would like to ask, if you haven't, why don't you connect with me on the socials, RMT Shoots on Twitter and Instagram. Hit me up. Let's get a little chatski going. Today, we are talking about J&L Cuts. This one thing has made me much better editor, and it's such a simple technique to use, yet it's incredibly effective. What, pray tell, is a J&L cut? A J&L cut is designed to mimic the way that we would perceive conversation in real life. Imagine, if you will, that you're watching two people have a conversation. Rarely would you, as a viewer, watch one person say something and then immediately cut over to the next person before they say something. You're watching person one, they're saying something, and then as person number two starts to talk, your attention drifts after they started talking to look at person number two. Just a natural way that we view conversation. And that would be a J cut. I'm watching and then audio comes in underneath and then I change my focus to the other individual. An L cut is if I'm watching the other subject. Subject number one is talking and I'm watching subject number two to see their reaction. That would be an L cut. Now this again is a way that on screen we can mimic the way that we perceive conversation in real life, rather than just have these jagged, uninteresting cuts from one back to the other, back and forth, back and forth. Doesn't work that way in real life, so why would we edit that way? That's a sign of an amateur editor, and so I'm here to up your game and tell you about J&L Cuts. It's super easy, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Here's an instance of a J cut. Me number one is going to be talking to me number two, and this is what me number one is going to say, but I am going to respond as me number two only in a J cut. You will not see my face at first, you will hear me respond, and then it will cut to my face. Hey man, I gotta tell you, I really think your hair looks stupid. Well, I think you're an asshole. So that's a J cut. I said something to myself number two. Myself number two responded while you're still looking at myself number one, and then it cuts over to myself number two. Now, here is an example of an L cut. Myself number one is going to say the same thing to myself number two. You're just going to be watching myself number two as my reaction comes over my face, and then I'm going to speak. Hey man, I gotta tell you, I really think your hair looks stupid. Well, I think you're an asshole. So that is an example of an L cut. You saw myself number two react and respond to myself number one, and then I responded verbally. So those are an example of an L cut and a J cut, or a J cut and an L cut. Now, again, I can't say how often I use this technique once I figured it out and kind of, I wouldn't say mastered, but definitely got much better at using it. This also doesn't have to be reserved for dialogue only. I use it more often in a B-roll setting. We just did a Kickstarter campaign for a apparel line, and what I would constantly do is roll the B-roll over the dialogue so your interest would be piqued, there's a different subject that's going on, and then you would see that person talking about that subject. It's just a natural flow. It's the way that we would perceive information. It's the way our brain works, is that we can look at something, hear something else, and go, oh, I should start paying attention to that now too. So that is J&L cuts. You can see exactly why they're called J&L cuts, because a J, the dialogue precedes the visual, and so that looks like a J, and an L, the visual precedes the dialogue, and that looks like an L. Very simple, that's exactly why it's named that way. A lot of these things just, you know, it's logic. Logic! So that's all I have for you guys today. Another Teegarden quick tip tutorial wrapped up in the books. Again, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, maybe consider subscribing. And if you know somebody that would benefit from understanding J&L cuts or any of the other content that you see on this here channel, maybe consider sharing with them. Don't hog me all to yourself. I need to be spread out. Share the love, spread the wealth, give them something that they can talk about. Damn it. That was good. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Bye.